Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Agatha All Along. We're going to talk about review bombing and Rotten Tomatoes. And we're going to talk about anti-marketing.
Yes.
We've been talking about anti-marketing lately. And that is basically when people associated with the show attempting to market a show actually say something or do something stupid that causes people to run the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. And there have been several shows and movies I can think of over the last couple of years that have suffered because of that. And in some cases, the media actually makes it out to be a much bigger deal.
Well, the media's already starting on this one too.
Right. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the one main character on Agatha All Along. In addition to the Rotten Tomatoes score not being good, but he basically said, yeah, he was kind of. Things were kind of taken out of context because the media was running with like, it's the gayest Marvel show ever. And he's like, yeah, he's gay, but it's not a huge plot element.
Yeah, and it wasn't yet. I did watch the first 2 episodes. And it hasn't, I mean, I can't speak to the other episodes coming, whether or not that becomes more and more of an issue. There's a couple things besides his character that they, lean into that a little bit. But it wasn't like a significant amount. It wasn't to the level that they were running with before the show. Now, again, still have a lot of show to go. So, it doesn't mean that they won't double, triple down on that later.
Yeah, so let's talk about this because this is part of a bigger discussion, I believe. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
So yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes scores not good. A lot of people writing headlines about how not good they are, but
they weren't that bad. That's what I don't understand. Like I saw them earlier and they weren't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, any other show, if it wasn't Marvel, I think they'd be, if this were just like a Netflix show or something, they'd probably be like, yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Well, it feels more like WandaVision than it does like an MCU movie or something like that. But that's what I expected.
Right. And I think that's it. I think, in a case like this, it's very obvious this show is not for comic book fans. This is not
It's also not for kids.
It's also not for kids. This is this is a spinoff of the character called Agatha Harkness, but not actual Agatha Harkness. She is not a whole lot like her comic book iteration. They kind of created this character whole cloth for WandaVision and gave her the Agatha Harkness name. Other than being a witch, that's about where it ends, right? But I mean, you watched a couple episodes. I watched part
the
of it.
first 2 episodes, yes.
And it's about what I expected. I thought the acting was pretty good.
I thought it was fine. I mean, people can get pissed at me. I don't really care because I'm not here just to. If something's good, I'm going to say it's good. If something's bad, I'm going to say it's bad. That's just what I do. I don't like try to twist it to get hits and clicks and high fives. It wasn't terrible. Again. It's only 2 episodes in. Can't tell you how it's going to do overall. But so far, the first 2 episodes were fine. I mean, it's definitely not for kids. Like, I don't see the point of why you needed to see her naked ass. I mean, there really wasn't the point for that. She did say, eat my ass to the chief. He's like, eat my ass. It's like, basically, kiss my ass or something like that.
Well, it's easier to eat ass when you're not wearing pants.
Well, she was wearing pants at the time. I mean... And they do have a couple illusions, like, obviously the one character that he said it wasn't his main point about him. His boyfriend says like BF or something, and then he declines the call. That's the only reference they made to him being gay at all so far. And they are trying to play Aubrey Plaza off of Catherine Hahn. It's like there's something going on there. Yeah. I think they're playing that up like they had a relationship or something. But it's just brief. Like, it's not like anything that you're like, oh yeah, that's clearly, really, really pushing an agenda.
Well, it's also Disney, and this is Disney. It's like, oh, finally we have, gay representation in Beauty and the Beast. And then it was like, oh, they just kind of glanced at each other. That's your gay representation.
Okay. Side note on here. I'm finding it very, very entertaining that Bob Iger had gone and made all the comments at Chapek when Chapek was trying to walk back the political stuff and try not to take sides and stuff. And he was making digs about, well, you need to stand by the right thing to do and all the other crap. Me and same Bob Iger that's, apparently telling them, make sure you don't make characters too gay in these shows, guys, because we want to make money. I just find that vastly entertaining.
Yeah, it does feel like, and we'll talk about this as part of the bigger discussion here, but it does feel like Hollywood is kind of sort of starting to walk a lot of this stuff back. They basically, I believe, left activists in charge of entertainment for the better part of a half a decade. A lot of this stuff did not make money. It put them in the hole. Some studios went out of business altogether, and then they kind of blew themselves up chasing streaming. And here we are, and it does feel like they're just kind of, I don't know, flushing out the projects that they have in the hopper. But then, in the case of like Daredevil, they went back and reshot the whole damn thing pretty much. But this one is honestly kind of sort of what I expected. I'm like,
it's just like WandaVision continuation, but like a Halloween version.
Yeah,
it's like a Halloween story.
I was expecting like The Craft. I was expecting Charmed. I was expecting, kind of a campy hocus pocus type thing. And from what I saw of it, that's basically what it was. And it wasn't like, I mean, here's the thing. Like if this show came out 30 years ago, nobody'd give a shit one way or the other.
No, honestly, this came out and it wasn't listed as a Marvel show.
Yeah.
No one would give a shit whatsoever.
Yeah, if it was just called like, Bitches and Witches, or oh my God, that's a show we need to make. Bitches and Witches. Bitches and Witches get stitches.
But they talk about him. They said Joe Locke has claimed that while his character's gay sexuality be a significant part of his personality, whatever that means, it will have little bearing on the spin-off's plot. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to be on a plot, but is it going to be like a major driving? Did we mention he's gay? It's going to be like Bill and Doctor Who. That's something I was worried about. I don't think so either.
I think we've gotten to a place, even if that were the case. I mean, look, this is the same Disney, and we're going to do another video today talking about Disney animation, but this is the same Disney that was explicitly told to told Pixar to rein it in on Inside Out too, because I'm like, you can have those themes there, but I mean, you have to realize at the end of the day, this is still a Disney product, and if you're constantly beyond what people's expectations are for Disney product, right? Everybody finds ham-fisted ideology annoying as hell.
Yeah, a lot of people just aren't aren't bigoted. They're just tired of it. Interestingly, I want to point out, did you read the under the picture?
Yeah.
Billy Kaplan and Senior Scratchy are startled by the surprise appearance of a coven of witches. Okay, right? It's not the bunny. In the teen, I keep calling him the teen. Every time he tries to say who he is and where he came from, in the spoilers, she can't hear what he's saying. He tries to tell her, and he doesn't realize she can't hear it. But there's different things that happen, like the picture with the thing on his mouth, but he can't hear who he is. She can't hear who he is, and they're saying that they're thinking it's probably going to be Scarlet Witch's son, because they even identified it in the Marvel Entertainment picture.
Yeah. Yeah,
I guess in the subtitles it came up that his name. I didn't see it, but they said it did.
Whoopsie doopsie. Well, there's this huge spoiler. Yeah, I kind of wondered if that's what they were, because he's a witch. He's a witch. Yeah, so that also ties everything into Young Avengers and ties everything into and they introduced a character in WandaVision, so that makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it fits. It's basically WandaVision. It is WandaVision season 2 is what it is. If you like WandaVision, you'll like this. It really wasn't so far pushing anything. That being said, now to the bigger discussion. The bigger discussion is, I mean, I'm not saying it won't later, and it still might, given by the way the actors were behaving ahead of the show. But if it doesn't, they just did the show a huge disservice with their anti-marketing, anti-help.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because we did a video the other day, and the media's kind of running with it's the gayest show ever, and yeah, there were some comments that were made, and this is just kind of a general.
It wasn't a bad show so far. I want to watch more. I like it. I can't tell you how it's going to be in the other 6 episodes, but the first 2 are okay. Yeah,
don't expect a superhero show. But I actually had, and I don't want to name check people because I don't want to get them in trouble, but I had a couple people actually write last night and this morning, and say, hey, the show's actually not terrible. I mean,
it's only 2 episodes in.
It's only 2 episodes. I always feel like we have to disclaim.
I'm disclaiming it because I've seen this so many times. First 2 episodes are good, and then we end up with, some big stupid twist that then the rest of the show sucks.
Twist.
So I'm not going to say the show's not going to suck because I don't know that. But I do know the first 2 episodes weren't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's hard with movies too. Like, I overall liked Alien Romulus, but that last act, I was just like, what the hell were they thinking? But if it were a series, I'd be like, man, these first 2 episodes are fantastic.
That's it. It was good. The first
Aliens back, everybody. But that's the thing when you review stuff. Like, you have to kind of review, what you've seen or what you know so far, and then realize, like, hey, I watched these episodes. I reviewed these 2 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever it is. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know people were mad about some of the stuff that happened in X-Men 97. And they went back to my initial review, which was just the first 2 or 3 episodes. And I said, yeah, it's actually as a long-time X-Men fan, this is really, really good. And they're like, yeah, but then they dropped the ball, Clownfish. So you need to change the review. I'm like, no, I reviewed the first couple episodes. That's what I did.
So up until this point, I actually liked it. It was fun. Anyway. Yes. So the actors ahead of the show, and we've seen this before with lots of different things. Dungeons and Dragons is a prime example.
That was a big one.
Blue Beetle, another example.
Oh, Blue Beetle. Yeah, I forgot about Blue Beetle. There actually have been some pretty decent, okay. I mean, not stellar, but
Blue Beetle wasn't stellar.
No,
but it was definitely not the worst.
No, it was one of the. I mean, given that the bar is pretty low with the DC movies, it was one of the better DC movies I've seen lately. But like these movies, the people associated with the movies, they'll say something stupid during a press junket or something, and then the media will run with it, blow it out of proportion, and then
chase off the audience,
right? And then what historically has happened, then once the audience gets chased off by something stupid being said or whatever, then the producers, showrunners, the marketing people, then they go back and they blame the audience for running the opposite direction. The bigots, when you literally told them not to watch, right?
Right. You basically just said, hey, there's an agenda here. And it's not even about bigotry. It's that people are just tired of agenda. And as soon as you're leading with that, it's the gayest Marvel show ever. You immediately just lost a bunch of audience.
You lost half your, So this,
because they're bigots, because they're like, oh, it's going to be an agenda show. I'm out. It's going to be political. Okay. I'm out.
All right, there we go. So I've tried to distill it down, and we talked about marketing and anti-marketing, and basically, one sentence for you: marketing, saying or doing something that will entice people to open their wallets for you. Anti-marketing is saying or doing something that will cause people to close their wallets for you. And it could be anything. It could be something stupid. It could be, in these interviews, and then they always run with they'll have a hour-long conversation on the podcast. They'll pull out 1 or 2 juicy quotes, and then that's what the whole thing is about. Mm-hmm. It's all about. Did we mention the gayest show ever? It's super gay, guys. Gay. You want to watch the gay Marvel show? People are like, "No, I'm good. I don't need to watch it."
I almost didn't, and then I watched it to do this video, the first 2 episodes, and I was like, "Oh, actually, those are fun." But again, 2 episodes in, can't speak for the rest of the show. Well, the other thing I'm seeing, though, is this narrative, too, that, it's review bombing already. They're already trying to run with review bombing, okay, guys?
Yeah.
They're already trying to run with it. I know Forbes was doing it and stuff. And I think it's funny because I don't see how that's any different because it literally has only been out for a it's not even been a day yet. So people haven't had time to watch it. So they're putting the reviews in. It doesn't necessarily mean it's review bombing or review inflating or whatever you call it, because it's only been a day. Like, you're automatically running to blame that. Because I think what Forbes was like, it's the second lowest reviewed. It has to be review bombing kind of insinuation.
Right.
And it's like, that's not true. It's been a day. And I know yesterday before the show dropped, some people had seen it. I guess they had a theatrical release of it or something. Some people had seen it there or seen it different places. And they were reviewing it. And then people were like, I'm giving it 5 stars because all the negative reviews, people who haven't watched it yet. But some of these people did watch it.
Yeah.
So right there, you're telling me you completely did the opposite.
So it's weird because this one actually, the critical and the audience are pretty similar. That, when there's a huge discrepancy, but even now, you can't trust the audience score.
Top critics only give it 60.
Yeah. So,
why? Are they giving it 60 because it wasn't gay as they thought?
Was it not gay enough? Yeah.
That's what I have to wonder. I mean, are they just doing that because it wasn't gay enough? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are giving it pretty good. They said so far it's good storyline, good acting, comedic charm. Overall, the story is thin and seems too manufactured to capture audiences' imaginations. Right now, Agatha All Along is underwhelming. I still have hopes this coven will put a spell on me and make the show more interesting. Well, fair. Could be a stronger execution.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is Eric Kane, who actually is the other Forbes writer that covers games, and he's actually pretty fair. And he's like, so far, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Same.
And I hope the show continues to be a fun little witchy adventure. Again, your expectation. What are your expectations for this? Like, I always, the whole time, I'm like, oh, this looks like, like a '90s witch show, drama show, whatever. And that's basically what it was. I mean, if you're looking. I mean, I'm not making look. The show's not for everybody. The show's definitely not for dudes. I mean, it's not a dude show. This feels like a chick show from the 90s or 2000s. That being said, if you go in with that expectation, I can't objectively say it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
From what I saw,
I like this part, but again, I'm a woman. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. But again, it's too soon to tell. And the same for reviews. I think people are giving it reviews and people are like, oh, it's review bombing. And I'm like, it's not even been a day yet. How can you be calling it that when it's still, I think they're lining up pretty close. To me, that sounds like that. Usually when they match, that sounds pretty accurate. And they're like, oh, it's review bombing already. It hasn't even had time to be review bombed.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. I mean, it's they're like, look, here's the thing too. We have gotten to a place where, especially with certain studios, that people are not going to give the studios a pass, even if the stuff they put out is okay. I mean, I know when we were talking about Inside Out 2 and it was going to make it was very obvious it was going to make a lot of money. We said at first I wasn't sure how it was going to do. And that's true. And then it was like, oh shit, it's actually going to make, a lot of money. And people are like, no, it's Disney. It must fail. And I'm like, well, yeah, but then you see the behind the scenes. And they're like, no, we're course correcting. Do we allow for that? Do we allow for these companies to course correct and be like, you know what, we were pretty ham-fisted and it was kind of stupid and silly and we shouldn't do that again?
Where I come at it for all this stuff is I try to be as fair as I can. If it's good, I'm going to say so. If it's bad, I'm going to say so. I'm not going to just try to leverage it for views, that's when you're really truly grifting, I think. But I'm not gonna, because, even with The Acolyte, I didn't talk about the show itself because I didn't watch the show itself. You watched some of it. We talked about that in regards to you. I talked about the behavior of the media and audiences around the show because I didn't watch the show. But I did watch this and it wasn't terrible. That being said, if you don't like it, by all means, I completely understand. You're allowed to not like it if you don't like it, and I respect that fully. Yeah,
and that's kind of where I think we're going to come down, because I know with all the stuff that's going on with pop culture right now, and it's become such a battleground, especially on social media. And I'm sitting here like, I'm watching a lot of old shows now, and especially Star Trek. I'm watching 90s Star Trek again in the background, and I'm like, what if we had Twitter in 1991? What would people be saying about this episode?
Again, I don't think they'd be saying anything, because we were talking about this earlier, and I'll tell them the same thing I told you. Back then, it wasn't a big deal. No one cared. And I think what's going on is ever since 2016 with the Ghostbusters debacle, and most people were complaining about how we didn't need another Ghostbusters movie. It wasn't even about being all women. They just didn't understand why we were needing it at all. And that somehow ended up, everybody hates women. And I think people got tired of all the ham-fisted bull crap. They got tired of all their entertainment had to be a political message. They got tired of, if you didn't like something, even for valid reasons, it's because you're an istophobe of some sort, and not because maybe you have a valid point. Even if before something even came out, if you said, "Oh, this isn't for me, I don't really like this," you're a biggity bigot of the biggity kind, and that's why people are, I think, immediately up in arms on social media. If it had been like it was back then, they wouldn't have cared.
Yeah. Because people's attitudes were a lot different.
I think what's going on around the time has a lot to do with how people react to something.
I think, if anything, the only thing that would have been different is a lot of the celebrities, a lot of them never did change. I think we just weren't privy to what they actually thought about politics.
Yeah, now they don't shut up.
Now they don't shut up, especially Star Trek. Like, I love Next Generation is one of my all-time favorite TV shows, right? But I like half the cast of that show is just batshit on social media, and they just will not stop talking. and they don't do themselves any favors. And I'm like, you know what? If they were doing this back in the 90s and I was aware of it, I'd probably be like, God, I don't even want to watch your show because you're so annoying.
Well, that's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. This is like a fun Halloween-esque show.
Yeah,
don't take it too seriously. I don't know if they're going to push more agenda into it. If it being Disney, and since it's been in production for a long time, they probably will. I mean, I would temper expectations. I mean, it starts out fun, but I wouldn't let your guard down anytime soon.
Yeah.
And it might come out to be really, really good by the time it's all said and done.
Who knows? I mean, like, look, it is what it is, right? I mean, we're going to have to get, at some point, and we're starting to see a pivot, right? And I'm not saying you have to like everything that comes out of Hollywood or comes out of studios, but at some point you're going to have to be like, okay, well, do I at least try to be objective and try to be fair and try something? And if it's dog shit, then I'll tell people. But it's like it's kind of hard to be a restaurant critic if you're not eating the food, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. But are we gonna wrap this up?
Yep.
There we go, guys. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.